Bongani, welcome.
Thank you, sis. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I enjoyed our conversation earlier on when you arrived, just getting to know who you are, briefly.
Yeah.
And you wear many hats. And I must say, one of the titles, I see you as an anthropologist, as well. You are in the legal fraternity and you are an author. And the title of this book, Not Afraid of Greatness, is what caught my eye. And I said, I want to have a conversation with you. Welcome. And just tell us a little bit, who is Bongani Luthuli? Yeah.
Thank you and good evening. First and foremost, let me pay tribute to the first two speakers. And maybe you can give them a round of applause. That was just inspirational. And I think I'm highly, highly encouraged by their stories. Well, Bongani Luthuli is a Pan-African lawyer. For my sins, I'm just been appointed as an acting judge of the Labour Court with effect from June this year. So it is a profound honor to be a judge, and that's, I think, purely a testament of grace and favor that's in my life from the time I was born. And hearing the stories, everybody seems to have a struggle of some sort, and they've overcome the struggle. I was blessed to have a catalyst, which was being born in a poverty-stricken environment, having to rise against all odds, but also being graced with opportunities that came before me. And perhaps one of the best blessings I've had in my life is the love for learning and reading. And I started reading from the age of 12, reading Gugu Thiongo, Ben Okri, not knowing what they say, but just loving words, not knowing that opened a worldview for me, that I would have the blessing to travel the continent and be able to have a discourse with Africans about African issues. And perhaps I must talk about a slide to my fellow South Africans, where because of the exceptionalism mentality that South Africans have in general, we haven't explored the continent, we haven't explored the world. When we pitted against our brothers, we only know much about at least SADC. We don't know what's happening in the region, in the entire continent. And that is still a product of colonization and segregation, that mentality of us versus them. And so reading has opened that world for me, where I'm able to appreciate cosmopolitanism, which is, we won't have xenophobia, we won't have ethnophobia if we're people who were readers. And so I'm a student of history, student of life, and that's who I am. I am also a writer, as you say. This is my second book. The first book was called The Struggle for Visibility. This one is Not Afraid of Greatness, which is more of a prophecy that I am saying to myself that I too will be great, that I too will reach the ivory towers of the judges. And if you see the book itself, the prologue is written by my mentor, Justice Edwin Cameron, who became a judge because he went and he became not just a mentor but a sponsor to the just president of Labour Court to say, here's a candidate, he's ready, and he must be appointed. The merits, therefore, allowed me to be where I am today. Thank you.
Thank you. What an introduction. Yeah, that deserves a round of applause. Yeah. Thanks, Bongani. I've been listening to your language, especially when you started talking about coming from a poverty-stricken background and not using negative words, like, earlier on when Tuso was saying that, the words that we speak into ourselves, actually are quite powerful. And you spoke about the power of manifestation, as well. Earlier on when we had a conversation, you were saying that, about the book and the position now as acting judge and how you travel the world, that you actually manifested that. And starting to read at the age of 12, can you just take us through that journey that can encourage other people in terms of manifesting the life that you want to lead?
Yeah, well, manifestation is a very controversial term, especially for a Christian. I'm a born-again believer. We believe more in faith and predestination. I just use the word manifestation so that we can encompass all religious beliefs. But what we speak about ourselves becomes who we are. We fashion the world. If you go back to the book of Genesis, it's not a sermon, but it's a worldview that I live in. The Bible says God created the world. By creating, He spoke, let there be. So I believe that the power of words that you speak to yourself Somebody said, you are right. Whatever you say about yourself, you are right. If you say you will never make it, you are right. You won't make it. If you say you will make it, you will make it. So instead of waiting for people to speak prophetically about us, people are too inundated about themselves. People are too worried about their struggle. To encourage you, you gotta be your own prophet. That's what I became. I became an apostle of my own life. I said, I've never seen a lawyer in my street. I will be the first lawyer. I said, I've never seen a judge at the age of 37. I will be at the labor court the first judge at the age of 37. So I started traveling the world through reading. And so when I began to write, the first article I wrote was for the late Dr. Isupahad, who became my first mentor. He has the journal, the Thinker magazine. And I was writing for the Readers Forum on bond freeze and their prospects in South Africa, completely not related to law. It was 2014. I just become an admitted attorney. And I wrote and I was speaking about how this government has sold us out in, I think my brother, you spoke about the inferior education that we've been given, how the standards have been lowered. Now, unbeknownst to me, he loved the article. Then he called me for a drinks meeting. And I said to him, he says to me, look, I love the article. I won't publish it in the Readers Forum. I'll publish it in the main article. So here I am publishing with Michael Pryor, Thabo Mbeki, Jonathan Senze, all these people, and the only unknown name, Bongani Luthuli, at the time. Now, he says, I'm giving you a platform to also write about labor law, which is your area of expertise. I write, but then this magazine circulates in India. I'm talking about chance. When the Bible says chance, an opportunity happened for them all, Ecclesiastes. It circulates in India, and the first international engagement I get invited to is called the Indian Society of Labor Economy. They send an email. They said, we've been reading your contribution as a labor lawyer. We're inviting you to come and speak in Ranchi in India. I've never been on a plane in 2014, and the first plane I take is 14 hours. I was speaking in tongues from Or Tambo to New Delhi, and because I was worried about flying. But here I am speaking, and that was my dream. I remember my dad, God bless his soul, would remind me that every time I would sit with my back and look at the sky and look at the planes that are flying, I would say, one day that's going to be me. One day that's going to be me. And at least every time I travel. This year in January, I was in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur. I was given an award of top 25 young lawyers. And then I was in Dubai in April. Again, thank you for top litigator. I'm going back in December for another award for top commercial lawyer in the SADC region. That's because somebody planted a vision. And for every vision, there's a provision. I see dreamers in this place. I see people. The reason that we gathered together here is because something is troubling you. Something wants you to network. That's passion. That's destiny. And when you come in and you act on that in your vision, you don't need money. You just need a dream. Money will come. Positivity attracts what you actually exhale. So if you dream and you don't just dream, you make an effort. I spent my time in libraries while others were playing soccer. I was reading a book. There was times in investment. I read 32 books at a time. I changed genres. Why am I reading? I'm troubled because there's a time that you don't have time to prepare. You need to manifest. And so if you don't use wisely your time of preparation, you won't have something to say when your moment of revealing comes to pass. And that time may come impromptu. Mr. Vina can call you and say, come and speak. If you don't have something to say, you will miss an opportunity. And so I'm all about opportunity, but I'm also about preparation. And that's how my story, which I try to say here, from the time, there's a chapter I call Affinity with the Written Word. I have the blessing. You stop me because I tend to speak too much when you need to interrupt. But I have the blessing that I can sit here with normal people and then I can be with the head of state the next day. That is grace. I've had an opportunity through the work I've done working for the ACDP, being a lawyer of the ACDP, to sit with John Kufuor, the former president of Ghana from 1992, to sit with Dr. Chakwera in Malawi, having a tete-a-tete with a man, and you want to pinch yourself and say, did I just spend that moment? And I think I'm preaching to myself now. It's important that every victory that you have in life, no matter how significant or insignificant, take a moment to breathe, live in the moment, so that you appreciate the time you've been given. And right now, I'm sitting here, appreciate the space and soak in the energy, because I may not have that tomorrow. But it's a bag into which I'm investing, so that tomorrow I become an encouragement and I bring down ladders to other people coming before me.
Oh, wow, right? A couple of things you've said, especially around vision and provision, right? That when, Chiso, you've mentioned, about your life having GPS, right? That when that GPS is not functioning properly, that you might end up going to a different, wrong destination. So when you have that vision, it will propel you, and there will be that provision. You reminded me of Oprah. One of her episodes, someone said that to her that, you are very lucky.
Yes.
And she said that she does not believe in luck, that a moment of preparation, when you prepare, then an opportunity knocks on your door, then that's what people call luck.
Yes.
But actually, like what you were saying, when people are playing soccer and then you went to the library and, you were reading and you actually manifested, your life. I keep on using the word manifestation, and I know that as a believer,
that's fine.
That, you mentioned that.
I must prefix that with a story, that you create your own luck, Sister Joy, because that's true. People may see me working in a law firm in Septon as an equity partner, and now I'm on my own. It didn't start there. So when I finished my LLB in 2010, I was working to this fancy Sentin office. I was done. I had articles. I thought I'm good. I'm ready for the life. First day I get to the office, I get retrenched. First day I get retrenched. I'm told we haven't recovered from the credit crunch of 2008. We took 10 candidates. We can only take 2. I lost out because the criteria was a driver's license, which I didn't have. And you can see why this system is wired against poor black people. Who's going to have a driver's license at varsity from our background? Who's going to have a car at varsity from our background? So that made me stay another year at varsity to do my postgrad. But everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
And then I decide to get a license. I get a license. And then now I'm under license. I'm looking for articles. There's an office, a lawyer's office or building opposite High Court, Johannesburg High Court, called Shriner Chambers. I went to Shriner Chambers distributing my CVs to every receptionist there, from the first floor to the last floor. I was insulted by some lawyers. They're saying, we will never, without looking at the CV, I will never hire you. I went through that humiliation. I get hired eventually. I get called for an interview at a law firm in Alberton. I go to Alberton. I have a license. The 2 gentlemen are sitting there. They say, no, because you don't have a car, I won't hire you. One of them says, no, I see potentially. I'm going to hire this guy. The other says, but how are you going to hire this guy because he doesn't have a car? And this one says, I will buy a car. Vision, provision. He buys the car, a bucket, Corsa bucket. I drive this bucket, but lo and behold, I cannot drive it to where I stay. In Auckland Park, I'm still staying at the student rest. In Auckland Park, I need to take a taxi. One day, I don't have money for transport to go to Alberton. I wake up at 3. This is a lesson in how you fight for your destiny. It's a matter of life and death. You're not going to have your destiny in your hands. You've got to fight for it. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up. I'm walking to Alberton. I've got a lawyer's briefcase, mind you. I'm wearing a suit. And I'm walking towards Bree Street. And somewhere there's a road by my call it. There's a bridge there, and I was chased by trams there, running, and you could see my thigh flapping up and down, running for my destiny, fighting for a seat on the table in the legal profession. I get there, it's about 8:05. I get to, it's a long walk from Heidelberg Road. I know you drive it, but if you walk Heidelberg up until Alberton CBD, you'll know what I'm talking about. I get there, I'm huffing and puffing. And as I walk in there, one of the directors says, you are late. Kendall Tennis must be here. Before the director, I went to the bathroom and I cried. I'm like, does he know what it took for me to get here? I'm sweating here. I'm fighting for those whose blood are inside me because I'm made of greatness, just that they were never given an opportunity. And now I have an LB. I want to make use of it. I cried. But as Ian Lavanza would say, yesterday I cried. I cried that day, recalling my mom who gave birth to me out of wedlock. and the pain that she had encountered, the ridicule that she had encountered, the struggle into taking me into varsity. I cried for all of that. I cried for all my brothers who never have opportunities, who can't speak the way I do, who are dying there with all potential. Some of them played for young Kaizer Chiefs, but they couldn't go further because of lack of resources, lack of opportunities. I cried for all of that. But I then cried for the last time. And I said, this is the last time I shed a tear where I lack. From now on, the name Bongani Luthuli will be known with money, excellence, and greatness. And I'm here today standing
that landed. That landed. And that takes us to the title of your book, right? Not Afraid of Greatness. Just, snippet. What is it about? Yeah.
Not Afraid of Greatness from the pen of a provocateur. I say provocateur because I deal with controversial topics in here. I deal with what I call my triple heritage. Triple heritage is what I took from the late eminent scholar Prof. Ali Mazrui, who had triple heritage. And I have mine. Mine is the law, the spiritual, and as well as literature. That's my triple heritage. So here you'll find musings around some of the things that keep me awake at night. From Cape to Cairo, Morocco to Madagascar, that I deal with from an ideological point of view. So it's an intellectual book that's engaging intellectual, number one. But number two, it deals with some of the most important cases I've done. I talk about how I represented Steve Komphela. I got him to sign for Sundowns the first time around, and how we met by chance during those COVID days. And ultimately, I signed a contract with him. I speak about that there. I also speak about my victory for ivermectin, which I got recognized for during COVID 2020 and 2021, where I got a judgment that allowed us to use ivermectin to fight COVID-19 and not be injected. That's all here. But ultimately, what's in here as well is what I call youth activism, where I talk about Christian politics and how Christians are behind in a space that should be dominated by them. I speak about how the parties such as your ACDP have fallen from young people because they stick to dogma, and then they should rebrand themselves and make themselves trendy without losing the message that they're trying to convey. So that's all I speak about here. And I think the reader will definitely enjoy some of the things. I speak about my first encounter with pornography, which people give me feedback on, where I had to, sometimes we put ourselves on a pedestal and we forget that we're human. And we don't relate to people because we're put in that pedestal. I speak about that and how I encountered porn at an age of around about 10 to 11. There was a policeman, Mr. Ngobo, who had a house next to me. He was the dirtiest guy I've ever seen. He never cleaned his house, but he trusted me with his house. So I would go to his house. Because at the time I was reading everything that I could read, I landed myself with a porn magazine. Now, nothing much is written in those magazines. Don't say, if you know the magazine, act like you don't know what I'm talking about. There's no plot there. It's just pictures. But I got fascinated by these pictures of women and all this. But what I say about that is I didn't appreciate what it was then. But I remembered after, when I came of age, my goodness, that was pornography. But I just didn't appreciate pornography. And how that guy risked me and my mind at that young age with such material in my exposure. But that's on the light side, but there's also a psychological message to what I'm talking about there. So there's humor in there, there's satirical satire in there, but there's also food for thought. And I'm not right, but those are just my ideas. And I love getting feedback from the audience. So I think everybody who engages with the book would both be encouraged and also to spark conversation.
I can reiterate, and thank you for my signed copy. So as we wrap it up, what are some of the things that you would like to leave us with in terms of tapping into our greatness and showing up regardless of what life throws, at us?
That's an important question. Thank you. Everyone has been given a measure of grace, which is different from anybody. You gotta find your space. There's a lot of competition because people are everywhere. People are not confident with who they are. I use the analogy of the rope. I spoke about walking to the office. I remember when I was a kindergarten, I was on a taxi and I carried a rope. It became a weapon against me. Say, what kind of a lawyer are you? You're carrying a rope and you are in a taxi. People didn't understand the whole concept of kindergarten. But one thing I realized, that as people judged me because of my robe, it was not a wrong thing. It was the wrong location. So where I was ridiculing the taxi, in court, I can be ordinary, but once I put my robe, there's reverence now.
Yes.
Because people start saying, oh, this is a lawyer. Identity, location are intertwined. You can be in a wrong place with the right vision. But when time and chance meet, when destiny and the place of public revealing match, I'm telling you, your destiny will explode. I walk like this normal in a mall, but the moment as a judge now, I sit there. People call me my Lord. It's not age, it's not race, it's nothing else, it's authority. So within us is a measure of grace. Within us is a measure of anointing. When you tap into that place of potential and capacity, people will bow down and say, my Lord, my lady, because you found yourself. And that's the story that all of us have.
I really want to thank you for this few minutes. I wish I can go on and on and on. And I appreciate you.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, great. Awesome.